All right, guys, welcome to the 405 report. Actually at 405, it's been a while, but I have a lot to say today. I wasn't originally going to have one today, but then the market kind of did something the last couple hours, and I actually made a prediction that I want to share and explain why. So anyway, we'll start off like we usually do. What was the setup going into today? So yesterday, if you recall, if you look on the SPX, big gap and go, huge close. And then overnight, where did we close at? We closed like right here. Overnight, we actually rallied above my 39.40 big level to 39.65. And then, after midnight, Europe hours, we started trickling down. And we actually, this was pre-market, we actually broke below my 39.40.50 level. So then we were at 39.25. So 39.15 this was the next support range. So obviously these levels have existed for, I think, weeks now. This 39.65 actually was originally 75, but I moved it lower because that was the overnight high. And I think 25 I either added or maybe it was already there. No, it might have already been there. It might have been, I might have added it because it was roughly the pre-market low. So that was kind of the range. And this morning, I said there's kind of a lot of traffic. We're also near the highs. So when we opened what, around here? We opened at 39.40. We dropped a little bit right to that pre-market low. My issue is we had all this resistance. We had my big resistance range. We had the pre-market highs. So I just didn't know where we were going to rally to. It wasn't so much, well, partially just because I didn't, we tested it 3 times. And this pattern really isn't anything that I rely on. So I wasn't sure we were going to hold. Even if we bounced, I had no idea we were going to bounce this far. As I've said a few times the last few days, I'll be honest, I didn't know where this was going to stop. Once it got going, I knew it was going to go, but I was like, I didn't think it was going to go, not for sure, but like with any degree of confidence. So I didn't chase. I don't chase. I followed my rules. So anyway, we broke above, excuse me, the overnight highs. And then once we got to here, as usual on days like this, people were starting to looking to short or get puts. Or some people were even trying to chase calls. But remember, my 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., we're going to look at this. 11 a.m., the move ended. And then pretty much right before 1 p.m., granted we had news, but look at this, 12:40. So like that 2-hour period, chop. Nothing to play here. So that's why I didn't do anything. So once we got above here, and ignore the rest, because at this moment in time at lunch, we don't know what's going to happen. I was like, well, might not be a play today. If you do get a play, I'm looking for a drop to pop scenario, because I'm not really looking for this move to just completely fail. Maybe tomorrow will reverse, but I wasn't looking for some epic like Monday failure. So everything was so bullish. So I'm always thinking, okay, the trend is up. So buy the dip. Then we had Google news, something about pausing hiring for 2 weeks or something. We had the Apple news 2 days ago, which, was I still think it was semi-irrelevant. It's nothing huge or news, but I feel like it was a bigger news than this Google news. This Google news seemed like weak sauce to me. So but anyway, we had the drop. I saw the drop, and once we, the news happened. I'm not entering right here when the news first happened. It wasn't like I don't know. Like if a Fed member said we're going to hike 100 next week, okay, then I can shoot first, ask questions later. But the Google news, kind of weak sauce. So once it started really reacting, and it got to like here, I'm like, well, I can't just chase puts here, given these support levels. So we look at that. We bounced that support. We retested this 65, which was the overnight highs. So you see how these lines all add up. That's why I like. So once we got to about here, I got in puts. You could say it's against my rules because I'm buying puts near support. So I was very careful. The reason was it tested this really well. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to try for something. I know this is kind of iffy, but in case they treat the Google news like the Apple news, because the VIX just expired, we rallied so much more. maybe we do it again. Maybe we have one of those weeks where it's just complete roller coaster. So I got the puts again. They does violate some of my rules. I held them, and once we got to here, we bounced. I forget exactly when I sold. I probably sold, somewhere right around here. Didn't make that much. Made like 1.5K, nothing. But I was prepared. A lot of people once we got down here were buying, the 39.25s and 30s, and I was telling people. Not only did I get out, I was telling people, I was like, look at this horizontal line. This line has been there for a while. It was also the morning highs before we rallied. Look at this level, right? Look how it all lines up perfectly. So I was like telling people, I'm like, look, I'm not gonna get greedy. I'm gonna get out because we could easily bounce here, and we did. And then we dropped again. And once we got to here, again, people were buying puts, and I was telling people, look, for me to get puts, I needed to break, retest from below, and then fail, and then I would get in on the fail, like we saw on Monday. I don't have the lines. Actually, let's go. I don't want to do that. But anyway, if on the ES, I had a line right here. You see how that lines up? And you see on the Apple News, we broke, we retested from below and failed. I didn't get in it, but that's what you should be looking for. And something I want to improve on going forward is getting in on this move. But today, we never really got below. I mean, we did get below by what, a point, but that doesn't really count. So I was telling so many people, like, don't get puts here. As long as we hold the 39.40, I'm not getting puts. So then if you saw some of my posts on Twitter, I was pretty much after I sold my puts here, and this was what I was only looking calls. I didn't even have puts open. I was like, for me to have puts open, it has to go boom, boom, boom. So I had calls open, and then we started to bounce. And here, people were like asking me, why weren't you getting calls? And I was saying, well, people were like, well, look, your 39.50 reclaimed, a lot of different things happened. But here's the thing, around here, let's say you got calls around here, things were really pricey. The 39.60s were, I think, $5 to $6. And I was just trying to play a move back to this initial drop point. So if the 39.60s were $5 or $6 and you get back here, you're only getting a double. And I didn't know if this move was sustainable. So I was telling people, the two predictions I made, I told people, look, 39.40 holds, don't even sniff puts. The second prediction I made once I got to here was I wanted a retest. So we reclaimed this 39.50 that we failed, but I wanted a retest. Just like earlier when I said I wanted it to break, retest from below, and fail. Here, I wanted it to break, retest from above, and rally. So ever since about just after 2 o'clock, I was telling people I wanted the retest. Some people bought here, scalped for a little bit and sold. That's fine. That's not for me. Other folks overpaid, and different things happened. It just wasn't a great play. Unfortunately, what happened here was I got distracted. In the power trading room, someone posted a message about some sweeps hitting, some higher strike sweeps. And I was curious about that because I was looking to play upside. And I got in the conversation, see how these candles happen really fast? Based on this, I like my symmetry. I was kind of ready for it to happen fast instead of having some consolidation candles. But right here at like 255, 250, 255, someone posted a message that caught my eye, and I just started typing away, and I just missed it. I literally had the 60s open. They were on my screen. I last saw them at 3.5, and obviously by the time I was too late, and we were like up here, they were like 5 or 6, and I wasn't going to chase. We're dropping. Did Tesla? We'll look at. Well, I don't want to get distracted on Tesla, but I'm assuming Tesla came out and it wasn't good if we're dropping here, but. Anyway, so the play here, so here's the setup. We kind of either broke down or were teasing bears. We have this what I call a double bottom inverse head and shoulders. It has 2 heads, double bottom. And if you recall one of my videos from, I don't know, 2 months back, something similar happened. But anyway, the play I was looking for, and it wasn't some amazing play by any means. It wasn't like a 5x or a 10x, but I was just like, look, we get this retest from above. It's a perfect double bottom inverse head and shoulders, and you can play basically a symmetry where you basically erase this Google News move. So you could have gotten the 39.60. Some people got the 65. The reason I got the 60s was because, again, I didn't think we were going to go that far. So I got a closer strike. 39.60s were 3.5. They went to about 11. I probably would have sold at 9.510, right about where this drop started. So I would have sold probably on this, like right about here. So I would have gotten a 3x. Nothing amazing, a great trade, but nothing amazing. I'm just pissed that I saw it an hour plus ahead of time, and then it's my fault I got distracted. Not the person who posted the message. It was a good message. It just, I got down a rabbit hole when I only had like 30 seconds to, make a decision. So it is what it is, but I wanted to share with you guys this. It's again not some crazy killer trade. I only missed out on 6K, like 3.5 and not that 9.5 or 10. But it's just, I haven't had, people who see me in the power trading room, I don't just throw out predictions left and right. It's not like I make 5 predictions a day and hit one and think I'm a genius. I haven't even attempted to make a prediction for a while now because, I've been seeing the market well enough, big picture, but on a 5-minute, detail level, I haven't seen anything amazing that I want to clock. So today I just wanted to show like, hey, I saw this, I called it out. I didn't make the trade for the reasons I explained, but a lot of people made money on this move because I basically, if you were in the power trading room, my commentary prepared everyone for it. So that a lot of people did stuff without me. I did help some people up here tell them when to sell, or did give them like my levels for premium and when to sell. But like in terms of the entry, people were on their own because I went down the rabbit hole of a message. And then up here, some people were messaging me, hey, should I get the 39.70s? Are we going to go for? And I was saying no, because again, my goal here is I want that symmetry. This down and then the same back up. And it wasn't like we had some crazy like red to green day like here. Even here we chopped in the day. It wasn't like we had, we were up, and we just, so on these type of days when it's a strong day, but then we have some kind of dip, I'm just looking for it to recover. There are days maybe it overshoots a little bit, but I wasn't looking for anything beyond that. The other reason I didn't get in is look how choppy this is. This is chop. I think I said yesterday in a few of my other videos recently is on these end of day plays, you want nice clean moves. Like look at this. This was so if you see this double bottom, for the most part, it's pretty clean. Big handles, not long wicks, pretty big bars that open and close properly. And here, big bar, very easy to follow, and then boom, look at these counts. But then when you see here, look at this. It's very choppy, red, green, green, red. I think it was yesterday. I was like, I don't like it when it's red, green, for the most part. I like red, 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 green, green, red, red. It's subtle differences, but it makes a big deal. Like even this is only one red candle, and I was actually hoping for a little more. That's partially probably why I got easily distracted. But even here, this candle, boom, one big one right there. Here, nothing much. So that's one of the reasons why I didn't play. Another reason is because I only had small profits and I didn't have profits from here, I wasn't going to gamble because I barely had any profits to work with. And then the other reason was my sell levels were, here are my sell levels if you had gotten into calls. The initial drop point, which was about here, 39.72, then high of day, then 39.85. I would have been shocked. I honestly would have been shocked if we even got the 39.85, but like I didn't think there was any chance in hell we're going to go above that. But I honestly think high of day was even ambitious. It was more of just retracing the drop. So that's why another reason. So three different reasons already. There may be more that I'm not thinking of, but didn't have profits. It was choppy, and again, it didn't make sense that we would. If we had a bigger drop, like I don't even know what it would have been. I'm trying to think of a better example. There hasn't been one, honestly. So you see here, same thing kind of happened. We dropped and then we kind of just retraced the drop. Pretty good symmetry there. But we haven't had one of those epic drop to rally kind of days. It's since early June. If you watch some of my older videos in early June, we had some of that, but we haven't really had some of that. I'll just talk about tomorrow really quick, and then I know a lot of people posted some questions, so I'll go over that. I still stand by what I said yesterday. We're getting close to the top of the range. I see we're dropping here. After this 39.40.50, we have this big, everyone's talking about this level, which either means, hey, I know a lot of pretty smart people, so the fact that we're all thinking alike means we're probably not going to breach this, or too many people but thinking about this level, maybe we go farther. I don't know, but I just want to play devil's advocate there. But my point is, I see we're dropping. I haven't looked at the Tesla news. As I say every day, you got to look at overnight action. As I showed earlier in many things, like once you get to the European hours, they move the market so much for us. So I can't make any predictions. I wouldn't even begin to make predictions until I wake up and see where we're at. But let's see what happens. Are we going to open below 39, 40, 50? Are we going to open right around it, above it? Are we going to open up? But right here, 4,000 to 420. This is another gold big resistance level. Big, big, big. Let's zoom out and just see how big. Oops, moving lines. Don't want to move lines. What do I do? What do I do? I think we're good. But anyway, so basically, if you recall, when we had that big chop period in early June, and then we had that drop in the CPI and just that crater over 3 days, this was the first drop point right here. When we dropped and we closed, I think it was Thursday, end of Thursday, I think it was, this 40-20, and then we opened. So basically, this is a huge, huge level up right here, and you see how that we spent a lot of time here. So but after that, you're getting closer to 4,100. But this is a huge, huge. I think there's a moving average up here or something. I forget. I don't follow moving averages that much, but and also this is a big. I have very few diagonal lines, but when they do coincide by this, it usually means we're gonna see something. This is just I don't use many diagonal lines, but I do use channels. I think that's the only time I would like uptrend and down. I don't have like a million lines, on a bigger picture level. I have these purple lines. This is an old what? Okay, I don't know where these purple lines came from. These are probably outdated. We're gonna delete these purple lines. I don't know where those came from. Probably from like 2 months ago. I just didn't realize they're there. But anyway, I do follow some downtrend. Like if we break this downtrend, I mean then we're gonna go probably to 40.75, 4,100. I'm open to it, I guess. But yeah, this is that. So anyway, I'll look at questions since I just want to get through my spiel before I. Okay. Let's start at the beginning. Okay, questions. And that was just a comment. Daniel, I think I answered your question. So if your hand is still raised, once I get through the chat questions, I'll give you a chance to speak. Okay, yeah, I still see your questions. Oh, okay, so I pretty much looks like I answered most of your chat questions. Daniel, if you wanted to say something, I just gave you the option to unmute. So you got to unmute yourself now. Your hand is raised. If anyone else wants to raise their hand or type in a question. Oh, I hear something.
Hey, Kevin.
Hello. How's it going?
Hey, it's Daniel. So it sounds like it was like a too late in the day rule. And you were like it wasn't like a slick move. Like it was too choppy all day for you to really think like, hey, we're not going to pop to like a new high a day.
Yeah, because I like to make my entries closer to 3 o'clock usually. But when you were asking, I think we were closer to 3:30, right? We were like 3:20, I don't remember the exact time, and it was just too choppy, too late in the day. Yeah, that was probably it too. I gave 3 other reasons. I think that's also a good one for a 4th reason. But yeah, I just had too many reasons why. We had too many resistances. I didn't have profits. I wanted this symmetry, and we did the symmetry. We're at the top of the range. We're not. It's not like we were at 3750 or 3800, and we did some massive recovery with like Vanna and put hedges cover. There was all these reasons against, and I couldn't think of a single reason why we would break, if that makes sense. I think I just gave you like 2 extra reasons. Think about the 5 or 6 reasons now against. So if you didn't hear all of them, I said them earlier, so go and read here. But I think I'm up to 5 or 6 reasons against and not a single one for. So anything else, Daniel?
No, I think it was just a few people in the room where, yeah, like you said, some people were jumping into these higher calls thinking we were going to get a huge rally at the end of the day.
This always happens. And some of it is people who made money on the initial move and they're just throwing away profits. I'm not throwing away, but they're using profits. Hopefully, they're not using a big amount of profits. And then other times it's people that didn't even catch the first move, and then they're gonna get, unfortunately, wiped. I don't want to use like too negative a word, but if you didn't even have profits, you should not be buying up here. Just like down here, if you didn't have profits, like again, I gave other reasons for why you shouldn't have been in down here, but if you didn't have profits, you shouldn't be buying down here. You should have been, this was a good entry, which is where I got it. Just like here, maybe you could have played this double bottom. I'm actually gonna look back later. I haven't had time to look back since I did this live.
Right.
Maybe I'll look back and see if there was an entry here, but
I made a comment earlier in the day that people like feeling like they're missing out on this 100 points. There was really nothing that has gone like so. I'm talking like one option that, okay, 2, 3x, I consider those scalps, but definitely nothing has gone like so crazy where it's like, oh my God, I can't believe I missed out like a 2 to 20 or something like that. And that's normally where I would say you're best placing like your chips, and waiting for those types of opportunities.
Yeah.
Sure, people are calling out like, I scalped this for 2x, I scalped this for 3x. And around 3 o'clock when we were chopping, trying to get a back test, somebody was like, oh, well, like this option went, I think it was the 3960s, like 1 to 7. And it's like, you had to perfectly bottom tick that move to get in at 1. Okay, so even if you got in at like 250, again, that's a 2, 3x, depending on how much you're putting in and what your daily goals are, if that's anything. But like, again, you're only looking at a 2, 3x.
Yeah,
it's really nothing to be kicking like yourself over.
I have seen some people posting. I'm not going to call out names by any means, but whether it's that in hindsight, like, oh my gosh, if I had bottom ticked, it would have gone. You wouldn't have never bottom tick. I never claimed to bottom tick buy or top tick sell. You see me. A lot of times I'll sell 5 points. I'll sell too early. Or people like say like, oh, I did this trade. There are people I know who like say they do this trade. I look. I'm like, it is like. I look and I'm like, it is literally impossible for you to have gotten that. You would have had to been in before the news hit.
One other thing about some of your plays that I've just noticed over the past like day or two with, and this is just speaking to Chop, it's even so hard to call these like back tests to say like, hey, if I get in at 240, I'll be out, or hold it till 340, because it's just been so much chop. Again, you're just waiting for like these big candles to get your 2, 3x and then get the hell out of there. So that's all I got to say.
Yeah, pretty much. I think I said it yesterday, or I definitely thought it recently. I'm like, man, there really hasn't been that late day setup like we were hitting in early June. The only one was Monday because of the Apple news. Unfortunately, I didn't play that great. I covered that on Monday. This was really the one opportunity, because if you had gotten in here and for some reason held the whole thing, I probably, honestly, if I actually look back, had I gotten here, I forget what strike I looked at, but I would have gotten in at 4 and probably sold it, if not here at the gap fill, or right here at 39 my level. So I would have only gotten a 2 or 3x. There was now maybe I get back in on a pop, but it's not unreasonable to have held this the whole way. Because you could have just been like, Apple news bad, we're gonna dump a lot. Some people were saying, oh, you could have gotten that same strike that I was looking at here again. They were like, oh, you could have gotten it at 1. I think it was a 39.65. Actually, yeah, it was a 39.60. You could have gotten them to 1 and they went to 4, but no one was thinking about getting them at 1 here. After the Apple news, sure, but the 65s were like 3 or 4 at that point, so. But yeah, this was your one day to really shine if you had just reacted to the Apple news. I was a little more cautious, but it is what it is. Thanks, Daniel. Good comments, good questions. I love it. Robbie, question? You want to unmute yourself?
Hey, Kevin.
How's it going?
I'm good. I just had a general question.
Sure.
Do you keep the same position sizing every time, every trade, or do you, with more conviction, go higher amounts, or how do you do that?
Sure, good question. Almost always about the same. Usually about $5,000 for me, which is usually about 10 contracts. I usually go 10 contracts, about $5,000. Especially if it's an earlier day play, you know, I'm usually paying between 4 to 6, usually closer to 4 to 5. So about, you know, 4 to 5 grand. Sometimes on the end of day, because again, I'm looking for about 10 contracts. Like today, if I had gotten the strike I wanted at about 3.5, it would have only been a 3.5K play. It's not that I wasn't necessarily willing to put in 5. It's just I like round numbers. I think I mentioned this on like a distant webinar. I was like, I like round numbers. I don't want to have to deal with doing the math of like, oh, okay, if I buy 12, then it's just easier for me to do the math. You know, I could buy. I'm not going to buy 20 because then that's 7K. That's too much to risk. So usually, you know, I'm usually buying for like, you know, obviously if I was buying something for $2, I would probably get 20 contracts, you know, something like 25 contracts, again, easy math. But yeah, usually earlier in the day, closer to 4 or 5K, later in the day, still willing to put in 5K, it just depends on the math. And, you know, I'm because it's later in the day and the premiums are cheaper and, you know, you have more risk, I'm okay putting in a little less too. There are exceptions, and people have pointed this out. There are exceptions where I'll size up 10K, 20K even. Like FOMC days, I've done that in the past. I actually, last Thursday, I don't know if you heard me on the web, I actually sized up here. I bought 3 layers and I didn't sell up here. So unfortunately, once we got to here, I sold still in profit, but then I kind of missed out. What I should have done was just size smaller, or, you know, just knock on all these layers. Sold up here, re-entered probably on this retest, and then gone. So sizing up has gotten me in trouble, which is usually why I avoid it. I don't like telling people I size up. It's not because I don't want to be helpful, but I only think that hurts people because like, oh, Kevin sized up. It must work. It must be guaranteed. You know, I give plenty of commentary. You don't need me to tell you if I sized up or not. That should have no bearing on, and like I pointed out here, it actually hurt me. So that doesn't always go in my favor, but yeah, usually like 3 to 5K. And of course that number is probably greater than what most people do. But yeah, I would say sizing up for me is on exceptional days, like an event like FOMC, or like here. We had this big gap down, and then, you know, and then I explained, I won't go into it, but I explained on that Thursday webinar why it didn't make sense that we were down here, that I thought we were going to rally to 3,800. So, but again, I covered in that webinar why again, big picture wise, I saw it perfectly. It just execution, I was a little off. Today, the execution would have been great had I just not been distracted by that conversation. Anything else, Robbie?
No, that's it. Thank you.
All right, cool. Let's see. Would I consider longing the 39.25? So here, touch in the morning with a tight stop, given it was at key support, turned out to be great risk reward. Consider, yes. In hindsight, sure. Again, the one issue with me doing the 405 reports is I haven't had time to do my digestion. Like I said earlier, maybe this would have been a good model. My issue here with is this. So ignore all this because we didn't. If you only saw like from here and here, this wasn't amazing. Now I'm not going to overreact and be like, oh my God, head and shoulders, we're going to dump. My reaction here was, okay, as long as we're holding this range, I'm not thinking dump. But, and I was even thinking like, watch they like bear trap this, but I just had uncertainty. Now if this, you see this kind of double bottom, now if we had, instead of it trickling down like this, if we had, say we held up here, like higher, and then did an inverse head and shoulder, did something a little more clean, like, yeah, there's like, you have this lower, you could call it a head and then two should, but like, it wasn't clean. You see how it was choppy? Whoops, moving lines again. What did I do? I hate when this happens. Anyway, but you see how this was way more clean and perfect symmetry, and you see how this was way choppy. You could have said up here, oh, some people would have been like, oh, this is a bear flag. You know, this with hindsight, you can be like, oh my gosh, this rally is amazing. But without that, like we could have failed here. You know, we could have failed here. I had absolutely no idea. So I just didn't have the conviction. Oh, the sweeps. You're talking about missing link sweeps. So yeah, so what was interesting was the sweeps were, I think, actually posted about here. They actually were cut in half. They did eventually work, but you know, his sweeps work maybe 100% of the time. They do, but a lot of times the timing is a little off. So I even thought to myself, I was like, if I get a go signal on my end, I'm gonna follow those sweeps. But again, yes, the 39, this level was a pretty big level. If you go back a few weeks ago, but I just wasn't sure. We were near the top of the range. We were right below my oh, I see what happened. This line got moved. But oh my gosh, I keep doing random things by accident. But my point being is I was just uncertain. Yes, there were some factors in the favor, like sweeps and stuff. Oh, I think what were the other indicators showing? Nothing else was telling us much, I don't think. But yeah, I just was uncertain, you know, like I said earlier here, when I was looking for an exact perfect scenario, I'm not saying I was looking for perfection, but there were some arguments in the favor of getting calls here, but not enough. And I did see some downside potential risks. So I just, that's why. Any other questions? Robbie, your hand is still raised. I'm assuming that's just outdated hand raising. You can type if you want me to, if you have any other questions. But anyone else, feel free to type something in. I'll give you guys a little time, but I'm happy to wrap up. Did we end up dumping? We're trickling lower. What happened with Tesla? Let's see. Then I don't know. That's fine. We don't need to talk about that. But yeah, we'll see what happens tomorrow or overnight. Tomorrow's an interesting day. We have ECB in the morning, Snap after the close, Snapchat, and if there's a day after VIX expiration, it's usually Thursday, we get a reversal. Not predicting it, not calling anything by any means, just some past dates, touches that I think, you know, tomorrow should be an interesting day. We'll see. Hopefully I don't get distracted. And next time I'm waiting for a setup, I should just ignore the chat, or I should just not even watch. But thanks guys for joining. A lot of good questions. Hope this was helpful. Have a good rest of your day. Catch you guys tomorrow. Bye.